smile when you're up back? Could you smile when you're up back?
Motion for the resolution. Would you like to read the resolution, Greg? Whereas the Mercer County Board by resolution found hiring of a conflict public defender annually would save Mercer County attorneys' fees and expedite the case resolution, and whereas after advertising 5 attorneys have applied for said position, therefore be it resolved that the Mercer County Board authorize a 1-year contract for attorney, whoever you pick, if you pick someone at an annual salary, the salary you set, effective 1 year starting January 1st. Do you want to make that resolution?
I'll make that motion to approve for Nate Neiman for $22,000.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed. Jeff, I'll get a contract too. Okay. Okay, moving on, hospital nursing home. You want to
I'll
update
make
us?
sure I get from the minutes where here, I'll make sure.
Thank you. Okay. Ted isn't coming? No. I thought you were. Okay. I was going to hand out a kind of a overview and the status of where we are today, and the situation has been changing day by day. For the new board members, Mercer County's run a hospital for a long time. Usually we had private administrators. Probably about 6 years ago, the state said the hospital facility was way out of date, and they wanted big improvements, heating system and this and that. That came to over $4 million. We tried to get a USDA loan back then. That didn't go through, so at a certain point the board talked to local hospitals, how about coming and buying the hospital. With the improvements needed and the at that point, loss of cash every year, no one wanted to buy our hospital. And then we needed administrators, so Genesis started administering. And eventually the board came to the package deal where if they take the hospital and fix it up and promise to run for a minimum of 5 years, and we sell them the nursing home as a package, that was the deal that the board approved, and then there was a referendum approved. And since then, we've been working with our attorneys, Caleb and Harper and Moline, to actually do the closing. And there's all sorts of real estate parcels. I took Jeff up to meet Carlos Steele, the attorney for Caleb, our attorney. They're in a big firm, and obviously Genesis is a big firm, so we needed a big business real estate firm to protect our interests. And there's all sorts of deeds going back and forth. We will have, hopefully, the promise that Genesis is going to pump in over $10 million both into the hospital and nursing home, enforceable by contract, which is obviously huge. There's parcels of land going to the Mercer County Hospital Foundation. There's one farm called the Plunkett Farm that the county will keep and decide what to do with. And as part of the closing process, besides all the title stuff and all the contract stuff, there had to be a Medicare audit, which was done. And that's an obscure federal agency called CMS, which Mr. Pappas knows, and maybe Dr. Anson knows too, but they control Medicare things, and you give them an audit of what's going on like the last 10 years. They look at stuff. If they find problems, then they either say, fine, go ahead, or no, we're going to impose some huge horrible penalty on you. And the penalty can go from like, $10 to $1 million. So in any event, everything got all lined up, and then we have this federal agency, the CMS group, that found some problems, not serious, no theft or wrongdoing, but way back when there were some leases that were not renewed properly. There was not a written deal on how the Mercer County, the hospital board worked with their doctor, which technical violations of what's called the Stark Act. So they had the right to stop the sale or to penalize us. We have the Chicago law firm working with them, and they're very close to a good resolution, but it's not done yet, and until it's done, we can't make it public. But it's like 99% sure it will close. With all the stuff going on, they're not going to be able to close by January 1st. So the latest I heard at like 4 o'clock today was this will be closed by February 1st, 2013. And I could probably go into more detail at the next board meeting after we resolve that one last issue with the CMS group. And Mr. Pappas maybe explain the CMS is better than I could.
CMS stands for the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. It's an agency of the federal government that basically regulates Medicare and Medicaid in hospitals and nursing homes. this point, yes, they sure do.
So it looks 99% good, but not January 1st.
Does anybody want to have any more discussion on this, or go into both session, more details, or? Seeing nothing, I guess we'll move on to the next point on our agenda. Carla, would you like to talk to us about the public health policies and what?
Sure. I had given Chairman McWhorter this memorandum with attached policies for you folks to review. The situation is we have two grants at the health department right now. One that started this whole process with these policies needing to be in place, and it's with the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. The first one that we were awarded is an IKE Planning and Technical Assistance Grant. It's a $100,000 grant, and all it really is we will be working with emergency response and our emergency management and planning. When we have a disaster, what do we do with debris management? Putting all of those things in place, we've got a lot of really great policies, but this would finalize the whole package for the county. And so we went to a meeting and applied for the grant and were awarded this grant. The second grant, our staff have been working on for, I think it's almost 2 years now. And it again is from the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. It's the Midwest Public Assistance and Infrastructure Grant. We have been working with all of the townships in Mercer County, and we received the contract this week is for $627,565. This money will go back to the townships. A lot of it for road repairs that they did, different things when we've had different disasters going on. So what we need, according to the federal government, are these policies. These are the only policies that we need approved. Everything else that they requested, we did have in county policies. These were the ones that we didn't. The code of conduct, you will see a code of ethics attached to that. You guys have already, that is already in the policy. So that part, the code of ethics is there, just the code of conduct needs to be part of that policy. Greg, would you like to talk a little bit about what your thoughts on that were? Because you and I had a conversation last week about this.
Yeah, I reviewed the policies, and, you know, obviously there's nothing inconsistent with what we have, but we don't have a lot of these already in place. My suggestion was, if we want to get the grants, we have to have these policies that, the policies be passed, but subject to, at this point, they only apply to the health department, because I think at some point, the board was gonna have some committee to do, you know, a big policy manual for the whole county, which has been done in about 20 years, but at this point, not make this apply to every department until the board wants it to. But public health needs it now, I think.
We do. Well, and these are county policies. These aren't public health policies. I will tell you, the $627,000 grant, we got $0 to help the county pull that in. So I give Jen Hammerlink a lot of kudos at the health department, because she's worked very hard, her and her staff have worked hard on this. So these are county grants. They're not, the planning grant is the health department. It will be administered by the health department, but it's actually emergency response. And I will tell you, a planning grant like this, there's a displacement policy in here. We will do no displacing. All we're doing is planning. So a lot of these policies are just jump through policies. We got to have them in place, but I do understand when you make a policy or set a policy, you're setting a precedent. So I wanted to make sure that, you know, Greg and I have talked about that. So, but we do need this to start billing these grants out and getting the money into the county.
Hey, Carl, on this
Yes.
$627,000 one, that's to the townships for work that has already been done.
Right, it's more like a reimbursement type
Okay.
of thing, but that will come back into the coffers, so
And how
definitely
is that?
help.
Would that include that blizzard we had that?
I think it's part of that, as well as some of the floods that we've had. I know, and Jennifer is far more well-versed on this because she's been working so closely on it. But in reading through the contract, looking at streets, any infrastructure, like the sewage, any of those kind of things that they put in their proposals, that will be part of that reimbursement. So they've done, the township, and I gotta give the township supervisors, they've done a ton of work as well. They have brought, we've got boxes of information lined up, and we had the feds in today looking through it. So we're moving forward on this to get those monies back into the county.
So we can make a resolution just affecting the health department and not the rest of the county employees, and it'll enable these grants to go through.
That would be my,
You're adopting a county policy, but it only applies to health departments, not just a health department policy.
Okay,
They have to have a
county
county policy,
policy that applies to the health department.
only at this point until further review by the board.
Okay.
and can I make one recommendation? I would recommend really quickly looking at these policies as a countywide, because these grants, my understanding with these, they call them Ike grants. When there is an emergency and there are funds left over, which blows my mind, I don't know how funds are left over, but they start distributing these, and we keep an eye out on that stuff, and we'll head to Springfield and, start looking at those. So, if we get all of this in place, it just saves us that much more. We can bill quicker and get that money into the county quicker, so.
Okay, well, thank you, Carl.
Okay.
Thanks for all you guys working on. Anybody want to have more discussion on this?
Who determines if, say there's $1 million the townships has billed, okay, or spent? Are we gonna dole it out proportionately, or who makes that determination, I guess? Sometimes, I hear different things from townships that, that maybe one township benefits a little more than someone else.
The monies that we're getting in were already submitted by the townships. So all of that stuff was pre-submitted. It's not like we just said, let's take this pot and let's hand this township this and this.
Okay.
They're the ones that brought us, they had to have all their receipts and everything. So they brought the dollar amount to us.
So you're gonna make them whole, I guess?
Yes, that
basically.
whatever they
Okay.
were approved for by this grant, that's what they get.
Okay.
So,
Thanks, Carl.
So this is the sum total of all the townships?
all the
requests?
townships, right.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Does anybody want to request this resolution?
Also move.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor of enacting a, use proper words,
The group of public health policies under 6A through 6F
for the county of Mercer,
for the county of Mercer applicable to the health department. So I think some of these we probably might have we already have somewhere.
Right.